Hola, bienvenidos nuevamente, ¿cómo están? Bueno, aquí estamos en la segunda parte. Habíamos leído en la edición anterior el audio script, ¿no? El script original del sketch de The Deadliest Joke in the World de los Monty Python's Flying Circus. Y en esta edición habíamos prometido leer mi adaptación que está en la cuentoneta. Dejo el video, perdón, dejo el link de la cuentoneta ahí donde está la historia. También está la adaptación mía en castellano, si quieren verla. Hoy vamos a verla en la versión en inglés. Así que vamos a compartir esto. Tengo ahí un TXT armado. A ver cómo estamos aquí. All right, here we are. Okay. This is the story. Okay, the deadliest joke in the world. Si tenemos referencias, esto para los que no escucharon el video anterior, es un sketch de los Monty Python. Dejo los links abajo, están en Netflix. Es el primer episodio de Monty Python's Flying Circus, disponible en Netflix. Recomiendo mucho el humor británico. Esto es la segunda parte y este es el audio short story. Let's go one more time. This is a story of Ernest Scribbler, joke writer. He is now writing one of his jokes, and right now he's writing the funniest joke in the world. And as a result, he will die laughing. Suddenly, Ernest stops writing, stops to look at the thing he has written, breaks out into a smile that very, very slowly turns into an uncontrolled hysterical laughter, staggers and staggers across the room, helpless with growing joy, and finally he collapses and dies on the ground. It was obvious that this joke was lethal. No one could read it and survive. Ernest's mother enters the room. She sees him dead. She utters a small scream of horror and leans over her body, crying with a broken voice. She notices the piece of a paper in his hand, thinking that it is a suicide note. Since he has not been doing well for the last 13 years, she picks it up and reads it between sobs. She immediately bursts into an hysterical laughter, jumps 3 feet into the air, and falls dead without further ado. The television takes note of what happened, and a reporter standing in front of Ernest's house says, "This morning, shortly after 11, comedy hit this small house in Dibley Road. Sudden comedy, violent comedy. The police have cordoned off the area. Inspector Jack from Scotland Yard is with me now. Inspector, what is the situation?" There is a specialist doctor investigating at this moment. If the operation fails, I will enter the house and try to eliminate the joke. At the moment, a window on the upper floor of the house suddenly opens, and a doctor in his white coat with a stethoscope sticks his head out, hysterically laughing, and dies hanging out the window. The TV reporter and the inspector look up with a sad expression and continue as if they were used to seeing things like that usually. The inspector tries to enter the house and says, "I will help myself with the sound of summer music played on gramophone records and also with lamenting songs from the men of the Q division," pointing to a small group of grim-looking police officers standing nearby. "With this sad environment we have created, I should protect myself in case of he reads the joke," and then gives a signal. The group of police officers begin to moan and sing biblical laments. The inspector straightens up and bravely begins to walk towards the house. The television reporter comments, "There goes a brave man. Whether he comes out alive or not, this will surely be remembered as one of the most brave and gallant acts in the history of police." The inspector suddenly appears at the door, helpless with laughter, holding up the joke, and he collapses and dies. It wasn't long before the army became interested in the military potential of the already nicknamed killer joke. And under maximum security, the prank was quickly brought to a meeting of the Allied commanders at the War Office, who were conducting a secret test on private soldiers in order to test the lethality of this joke and therefore how they could use it at the level of a secret weapon. A soldier on guard volunteers to a test. He is placed in the middle of a test battlefield. The brave soldier stands firmly in front of a box covered with a sheet, which contains the text of the joke. Another soldier rounds out to begin the maneuver, discovers the painting, and rushes into the trench in the shape of an armor box. At first, The soldier doesn't move a muscle while reading, but seconds later he falls dead laughing. The high command chiefs were impressed. Tests carried out on Salisbury Plain confirmed the devastating effectiveness of the joke at a distance of up to no less than 50 meters. A colonel tells a reporter, throughout the winter of 43, we had translator working on the joke-proof conditions to try to produce a German version of the joke. They worked one word each for greater security. One of them, he saw 2 words of the joke and spent several weeks in the hospital. But collateral damage, notwithstanding, everything happened pretty quickly. And in January, we already had the joke in a way that our troops couldn't understand, but the Germans could. The Operation Killer Joe was underway. In a trench in the Ardennes, members of the joke brigade crouched holding pieces of paper with a joke written on them, waiting for orders. Then, on July 8, 1944, the joke was told for the first time to the enemy. The non-commissioned officer in command gives the order. Prepare, aim, go! This is how the joke brigade comes out of the trench into the field, and together at the same time they recite as they run through the field. Well, that is not struck gets on Sotomaya. Ha, yeah, behind there that's all the line flip and sketch put. You can see, it can be seen that on battlefield, a landscape devastated by the war, and suddenly, in a precise place on this field, you begin to hear a murmur where presumably the German trench is. There is a silence, and a few seconds later, a group of Germans begin to laugh hysterically until they die. In action, it was deadly. For example, in the middle of a wooded field, a small German squad carrying rifles making their way through the forest hears a voice that is evidently a member of the joke squad who reads the joke from the top of a tree. When is that last strike? It's on Sotomayor. Ha, yeah, beyond that is all the light flippable cash put. The squad fell dead instantly. The now emboldened Joe Brigade runs through all the fields facing tanks and artillery groups with the familiar cry, when is that now striking also Sotomayor? Yeah, behind the other like sleep about Gashput. By this point, the Germans were trying to flee, knowing that it was a war they could not win. German casualties were horrendous. It wasn't long until the Gestapo agents captured a member of the Joke Brigade prisoner. This officer has a strong, direct light on his face. 2 Gestapo officers are interrogating him. Speak, you British scum. Let's see, huh? What's the big joke? I spoke. And the officer responds, I can only give you my name, rank, and what is Sherlock Holmes' favorite cheese? Which one? The elemental. He says, the British response. The Nazi agent looks at him with contempt and slaps him. That's not funny. I want to know the joke. Very well. How do you make a Nazi cross? The Nazi, fooled and confused. I don't know. How do you make a Nazi cross? The kidnapped officer suddenly steps on his foot in the opposite position of the Nazi, and he also jumps in pain. Gotten Himmel, that's not funny, he shouts before slapping him repeatedly and snaps. Now, if you don't tell me the joke, I will hit you properly. The officer responds, I can handle physical pain, you know. To which the Nazi replies, you're not funny. Very good, Otto. Otto begins to tickle the Nazi with a feather. Officer who roars out laughing, the spirit says, no, anything but that. Please, no, it's okay. I will tell you. Quick, Otto, it's a typewriter. Otto approaches the typewriter and they wait expectantly. The officer takes a piece of paper out of his pocket and reads it, feeling like a traitor. Okay, I will talk. When is that struck, down struck on Sotomayor? Yeah, behind the other days, flip about Cashbird. Otto, sitting at the typewriter as expected, bursts out laughing and dies. The other astonished Nazi soldier cannot help but read the text of the typewriter. That's not funny. He keeps thinking, and when he understands the punchline, he says, laughing, behind that other this place, he laughs desperately and dies. Sensing something strange in the interrogation office, a guard burst in with a machine gun. The imprisoned British officer said very quickly, "When is the national kids open?" Oh, yeah, yeah, behind the interrogation. And the guard steps back and collapsed laughing. And the British officer then managed to escape. In conclusion, says the reporter, in what appears to be a modern BBC documentary, as he walks through a forest clearing, in 1945, peace broke out. It was the end of the daily joke. The joke war was banned at a special session of the Geneva Convention, and by 1950, the last remaining copy of the joke rests here in the Berkshire countryside, buried, never to be told again. And finally, the camera focuses on a forest clearing and slowly moves away, revealing this monolith in the form of a memorial on which is written in homage to the soldier and the unknown joke. Well, this is a short story adaptation of the script of the killer joke Monty Python's Flying Circus. I hope you like it. You can see the video in the episode 1. I will give you all the information on the this information box in this video, so you can watch it. If you have Netflix, you're welcome to see episode 1 at the end, right? And I strongly recommend you to watch the Monty Python's Flying Circus. And this is it for today. Espero que, bueno, vean les dejo el link también para la versión en castellano, ¿sí? Está bueno también escuchar short stories, ¿no? En los dos formatos. Leer un script es otra forma de leerlo porque hay que narrar, pero acá está en forma de ya narrativa desde el cero, no desde el script de televisión, porque obviamente hay una cosa descriptiva ahí. Por eso en el video anterior puse el guión en forma de texto para que ustedes también puedan seguirlo. Esto fue todo por hoy en Short Stories. Recomienden si quieren alguna para hacer listening. Y bueno, disfruten el American Top 40 también, que estamos preparando un nuevo episodio. Esto es todo y hasta la próxima, amigos. Bye, bye, bye.